agenda, reading of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'm thinking that might be there, yes. We go.
Any problems with it? Do I have a motion to accept?
You can make a motion to accept the meeting minutes. And
I will second that.
Those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, pass. Bills and accounts.
Make a motion to accept the bills and accounts as presented.
I'll second that.
Those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, pass. Foxhole generator.
Waiting on Central Hudson. They promised me they'd have the line in July, the natural gas line, and now they're telling me it might be September, maybe.
Did they take the plastic off the generator yet?
Not yet, keeping the new one.
The other day.
It's not, none of it, the generator's set, but it's not, nothing's hooked up yet. And, yeah, he knows that, and he's got the conduit all in. Transfer switch is sitting on the inside in the building. And so we're just waiting on Central Hudson, and then it's like a day and a half of that hooked up. So.
It doesn't affect us on our grant stuff at all?
This was, no, I don't believe it does.
In regards to time?
No, because this got put on this portion got put on the new IUP for 2017, 16, 17. So no, I don't believe it would.
Okay.
They carried that over for us. And the plans, normally the health department would not approve plans for changing backup power, but because of the requirements of the grant, they had to, and we didn't know that going in, and so we had to kind of catch up with that, and so that's all been approved. So we've gotten all the approvals and everything we need for that.
Okay. Nobody we can call, is it that? Has been along?
My contact is Joe Landy, and that's not helping at all, so. I mean, I can look into that, just saying.
Phase 1B filter renovation project.
We're doing okay. Most of the electrical work has been caught up. There's a couple things that are still outstanding. We had a conference call yesterday. Filters 1, 3, 4, and 8 are done. 1 and 3 are disinfected and ready to go. We've gotten good back T-tests on them, and what we do after that is we just keep them in the backwash rotation to keep them fresh. Can't put them online yet because the turbidimeters, that's the one thing the electrician, not the electrician, it's the control folks, the PCS, the control subcontractor. They haven't been able to get those hooked up yet, the new turbidimeters. And you can't really run a filter without the turbidimeters because you have to record the turbidities. I think it's every so many seconds. And you're allowed to take grab samples for up to 5 days, and then you're in violation. So I said, well, there's no way we're going to put those online until we get that squared away. Hawk was there today. Unfortunately, the contractor's person couldn't be there today, but Debbie and Derek are pretty confident that what they learned, and it's all about the interface with in the daisy chains and all this other stuff, that they'll be able to do that within a day or two, and we'll have those filters back online. OCS is pushing because they know they can't take any others offline until they get at least those back online. That's part of the contract.
So we expect 1 and 3 to be online first?
Yeah, they're going to come on first, and I'm going to, as soon as they get this turbidity issue worked out, and Derek is pretty confident that after his conversations with Hawk today, that it's really not as big a problem as the PCS, the control subs, made it out to be, and it was largely because they didn't have the conversation with Hawk, and if they had, they would have known what they could hook into and how the software would work and all that stuff.
So there's an expected date at all yet?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll know by next Wednesday because, and they may be on by then. I expect this to be resolved in the next week or so.
And then 4 and 8 will follow
Pretty quickly, and then the others will just need media changeouts. There's 2 more that's got to come off, and then they'll be just media changeouts. Yeah, they're moving along, it's just, it's like building a house. The framing goes up really quick, and then the devils and all the details and all that other nonsense, so that's what we kind of,
And the chimney came down, okay, you said in your report, right?
yeah, came down in 2 days. I mean, everything's off site, they hauled it off. Somebody's reusing the brick, one of the workers for OCS. He does that kind of work on the side, and he was looking forward to having the bricks.
Now we have to install a new chimney or something, right?
We do. And Derek and Ron can put in, it's just a pipe, metal asbestos pipe. And they're confident they can do that legally, and, that's not a problem. They're also going to put together a proposal to upgrade the heating system and eliminate that, because we have this big boiler. It's very inefficient. I mean, it's fairly new, but it's still inefficient. What makes it inefficient is its steam, and the steam lines go through the filter gallery, which is basically a heat sink. And so Ron believes we can put in a propane system. We have a licensed plumber on staff, and we have, Ron knows the electronics, and so they're gonna look into it and give me a proposal on how we would do that.
And currently it's what, fuel oil?
It's oil. It's about 2,000 gallons of fuel oil a month in the wintertime. It's huge. So, and really, the only space we want to heat is the office area. I mean, because that water's not going to freeze down there, and it's always going to stay,
50 degrees or whatever.
So it's they're going to give me a proposal for that.
Okay, super life improvements.
The DEC inspected there last end of July 20th. They were there. They went to Binneywater, they went to our reservoir number 2 dam, and they went to Cooper Lake and West Dyke. And following that inspection, there's no major change. I mean, the things that needed remediation still need remediation. There's no imminent danger to the dam. It's inherently safe, but we still have to, he just wants to know when we're going to move forward. And I said, honestly, the board understands it's their responsibility, and they know they need to undertake that work. But the problem is financing that work. Because none of the low-interest revolving loan funds are available to us. None of the grant programs are available to fund this. He said, I know it's a problem all over the state. He said, so he offered if we needed a letter of support, he'd be happy to do that. That's a huge problem, that you can't use clean water funds or DWSRF funds to undertake any of this work, because they are specific, dam work is specifically excluded in that legislation. So, and I think that comes from the federal level, not on the state level. Not sure. But I have reached out to Lindsay because to coordinate a meeting with Assemblyman Cahill and Senator Amador, and I think she's working on that. I think she's talking probably the week of the 26th of September is the best to coordinate everybody's schedule. I was going to do it, and I realized she's in command of your schedule, and it would be silly for me to even attempt it.
Sorry.
No, it would be just a waste of. I'd be picking dates that would be, so she would know going in what was possible.
Are we still looking at the possibility of selling?
Yes, I have to reach out to the DEC. The DEC approached us 3 years ago, that they wanted to buy Reservoir 2 and Reservoir 1 at a fair market value. And they said their wheels turn very slowly. There is a pot of financing available to do that. And it would be, their goal was to increase the amount of open recreational water, but flat water, not stream water, in the Catskills, because there's not a lot of Catskill Mountain lakes. And so they were looking to do that. I need to follow up with Bill Rudge and the commissioner down in Region 3, Martin Brand, because he was involved in the meeting as well, and see where we are with that.
Are they establishing a fair market value, or is there some, how do you
No.
establish that?
I would think they fair market value through the appraiser or assessor and appraiser. Fair market appraisal.
I mean, we'd almost be willing to give some of that away because of the liability of the
Yeah,
dam.
I think I remember you saying that.
Right.
And liability of what?
Of the dam.
Reservoir
That's
two.
all.
Oh, of the dam remediation.
Well, we have all, yes, and Reservoir 2, I mean, and they would, well, we would need the easement for the pipelines. But it would be, you know, they were very clear in their presentation that it would be based on highest and best market value as opposed to, you know, forever wild. That was, it comes out of some environmental bond issue, and that's one of the stipulations of the issue, so. I need to follow up with Bill on that to find out.
Would that even be I don't know, would that even be a point to discuss with the legislators, the Cahill and Amador?
Why not? Let me check.
Yeah, find out
Let me
what the
find out what the
status
status with DEC, and then we'll take it from there.
They could always, you know, be in their bonnet in regards to trying to push it maybe along.
I mean, to get Martin Brand to come to a meeting in this office, and where they asked us for the meeting, kind of said to me they were pretty serious.
That was a while ago, though, right?
Maybe 2 years ago, but yeah, I mean, Region 3 commissioners, regional DEC commissioners, that's not what they normally do.
Okay. Bidding water UPS.
James?
Okay. We had a meeting with the consultant, CDI, came to the site, reviewed the documents, took back drawings with him. He has prepared a draft proposal to the board dated August 10th to examine two alternatives with electrical UPS and mechanical UPS type systems. The study that they're proposing is a lump sum of $11,900. And that's for the study, to look at the pros and cons of both, and then provide the cost of both installed, and then the recommended alternate to the board of the two alternatives, the board's decision. So that's where it stands right now. So there is a proposal in front of the board. It's not finalized. Judy will discuss whether or not you want to go forth with it tonight, provided he makes the final comments that we have indicated to him, which were minor.
Yeah, Jim asked him for some minor changes in there, but it won't affect the pricing. And I mentioned that we needed to be named as additionally named insured on the insurance certificate, which is, you know, nothing big. So he agreed that he would make those changes. I just
Agreed to make the changes.
haven't gotten them back
Yeah.
from him.
So we don't have a formal proposal.
Well, we have a draft proposal. I mean, we have something you can look at, and there's minor language changes. Jim asked him for some further definition on the two proposals.
Two proposals, recommendation at
Right.
the end, as well
And
as...
it lost.
The only thing that's left that I have to tell, I also tell them to put is I want a timeline on the report. You
Right.
know, that'll be done, once he's authorized, we'll have it in like, whatever, 4 months. 4 months should be reasonable to get a report of this magnitude back, I think.
Report with recommendations.
Yes.
And
I mean, I'm not speaking for him, but I think, to me, 4 months should be reasonable based on the work that's involved.
So are we at a position where we need to pass
You
a motion?
could either pass the motion, or you could wait for the formal proposal, which would be next month then.
Next month.
It's up to you.
So that's 3 weeks.
It's up to the board.
And that I would be able to then be able to circulate it to everybody. I don't know, you know, if you want to read it or not. It's not scintillating, which is, you know, but
Wait,
Wait.
probably a better idea.
Okay, no problem.
But I mean, you know, I think it's something we certainly need to consider, because otherwise we're going to be on manual operation up there forever. So. Jim, I'll follow up with him tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll
He's
follow up with him.
Yeah, he's in Brussels for this week.
Oh, yeah.
So you can email him though.
Yes, that's how I do
Yeah,
it.
email him.
Correspondence.
I have nothing for this month, just what you and I discussed as a follow-up to our discussion last month. Mr. Piazza paid his water bill. He was not happy. He didn't pay the late charge. I don't think he did that on purpose. He did that because he paid the amount that's here. He didn't read the fine print that says if received, not received by. But you may want to look at, you know, some of the comments he wrote on his check.
So what will happen is that additional charge will just get
Get re-levied.
re-levied on his
Pushed.
next bill.
And if it's not paid by November, it'll go on the taxes.
Say happy holidays.
Almost.
Almost.
And you don't know any result of the legal
No,
part of it.
that would not, I would not have any way to know that.
Okay. And that's purely held by the district attorney?
That's between him and the city court judge. And the district attorney, yeah. Yep. Yep.
Would it hurt to even ask the district attorney who contacted you?
I can ask.
It happened at the...
Yeah, I have his email, I can just shoot him an email.
It'd be nice to just kind of know if it went to that level, what actually occurred, if it did get resolved or not.
We'll talk a little bit about the grant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, as I emailed everybody, we got, Mary got contacted by the governor's office last Thursday, I think it was, that we were successful in that transmission main grant that we put in. Al has been in contact with EFC subsequent to find out like what's next. It is official, I mean, I don't know if they've sent you anything, I know you got a phone call.
Yeah, I haven't got anything yet.
Well, it's on their website.
Okay.
There is a PO, I mean, because I'm a little cynical, I was like, okay, maybe that was a hoax.
Right.
Maybe it was somebody just goofing
I'd
off.
like to see it on paper.
Right, there's a whole listing of the Hudson Valley and Long Island and all the grants that they gave, so we're certainly on there. Drinking water, clean water, I gave a copy, I got a copy here, but Dennis hasn't yet. So it definitely shows that, you know, the water, this is the drinking
It's an
water.
announcement from...
Right,
the
yeah, it's just
governor's
press
Oh.
release. And so that's, and then- so we were eligible. The total project is about 3.4 million. They'll only fund 60% of it, up to a maximum. At the time we applied, it was 2 million. The day after, the applications were due the 30th or the end of April, and we submitted it, and the very next day, they extended it 60 days and raised the cap by $1 million. That was all well and good, but Al and I and Tom talked about it, and we really didn't have enough time. 60 days wasn't enough time to rejigger it and make the project bigger. We felt we had a pretty good application there. Al, do you want to fill everybody in on what happens next?
Sure. The next step will be for the DOH and EFC to go through our application materials, and if there are any missing items, they will issue a letter to us stating what the items are that need to supplement the application. And then once those items are all submitted, then we will arrange a closing date with the EFC for the financing. And the total project is proposed at 3.384 million. The grant would be for 2 million, and the balance, we're looking at a low interest loan to the DWSRF. I'm not aware that we're going to be in the running for a zero interest loan, so I'm assuming a low interest loan.
Right. And that comes about because of the scoring. And it's a public, you can actually go on their website and look at the scoring matrix. And the only way you really score to get to that point where you get the zero interest loans are if you've had an MCL violation. You really don't get one unless you've had a health department violation. It's really difficult. So we only had a score of 50 points. So we're down in the subsidized loan category. We're not up in the... There are a lot of people in that subsidized loan category. But there's, you know, and you see the same names all the time up in the other. It is what it is. I talked to Tom Lawson. We'll need a proposal from them to get them going on the engineering for this. It's likely that we'll split this into two projects. One is because the disciplines are pretty different. One is the slip lining of the transmission main above the 1,600 feet of transmission main above the plant. That might be pulled out as a separate contract, we're kind of thinking now. And then the other is pipes and valves, either along the transmission main or going up to Bay Water itself. And he'll have that proposal for us to act on in the September meeting. And we can move forward, I think, pretty quickly with at least the design work. And Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, this is not a difficult design.
No.
This is just,
Well, this only is for the transmission main going from the
Right.
street up Penny Water. That's,
Right.
you know, that's gonna be cool. And he's gonna take, you know, a lot of borings and soundings to make sure
Right.
how they're gonna get that pipe up the hill again.
right, are you gonna do an open cut, or you're gonna have to do, can you be able to do a trenchless technology? I mean, there's lots of different ways that they can do it. And it all
The
depends
slip
on,
line is easy, the other part's easy.
yeah, I mean, we've done that over here. It's pretty straightforward. And that line is, you know, dewatered, it would be pretty easy to do.
That's the one with the eagles.
That's gonna be a complication.
How long is something like this gonna take?
The lining,
The whole,
whole project.
You mean from now to
very
completion?
expensive, yeah.
The lining project can take a couple of days. I mean, that's a pretty straightforward piece. So that's, and because there are nesting bald eagles on the project site, we will have, and we know that going in. It's likely that we would have to do that portion of it between October and January. That's as per the DEC, and that shouldn't be a problem.
But it's not likely that we're gonna get that project up and running.
Probably not,
this October.
probably not.
Yeah,
I mean, I
we're
would
talking
say.
a year.
Yeah, and you probably don't want to even try to, when you compress the timelines like that, you really get nasty prices. I mean, contractors, you know, but if they know it's coming up next year, they can be a little more deliberate about it.
It'll probably be a meeting or two before we get to the point where we're gonna have to have a motion to hire CDM.
Yeah. Well,
to
they're
do
gonna
the
give us,
engineering.
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think on
I'm
the,
just curious about
on
the
the
weather,
construction?
you know, does it have to be done
For the-
other than
for the-
What?
because
How long,
what needs to be?
for
The
the,
pipeline?
yeah.
The ground
Probably
needs to
done
be
almost any
frozen.
time.
Probably about
Anytime?
4 months.
I was just gonna say, probably like 160,
Once he
180.
mobilizes,
Yeah.
good 4 months.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Okay, pipe in, disinfected, tested,
Yeah.
So if everything went smooth, we would expect
a year.
A
a
year.
year from now.
Between bidding and the whole process, a
That's what I
good
would
year.
say.
Probably by October of next year, we should be done with this project.
Good work. Getting that
Well, it was, you know,
grant.
Nice.
just kind of a team effort. It was.
Those are the nice phone calls to get, huh?
Those are the great phone calls to get. So,
Absolutely.
Any more loose change falling in your pocket up there?
well, and initially, you know, I had heard the $2.6 million number, and then when, you know, I recognized that, you know, some of it could have been a grant, some of it could have been a loan, I was a little, at first,
Right.
disheartened, because I was like, you know, 2.6 million split between our two agencies, and some of it being a loan, but then when I actually got the press release, and we were able to see, after I did some more research, that it was actually just the grant. You know,
Right.
it's 2 million for you, 600,000 for me, and then access to the loans. That
That's huge.
that made
nice.
it much
That's huge.
much better. So, I'm good. Yeah.
This thing with Curious Joe, they're putting in a proposal, are they gonna tap into the New York City aqueduct?
I don't
They
know.
want to?
I don't know, but they're getting 20 million.
I think
3 million in the grants.
Tap into the city aqueduct, it flows down 10 miles away, I think.
That's my understanding.
That's my understanding,
Yeah.
just from reading the paper, yeah.
And there's one from Newburgh who's doing the same thing because of the contamination problem they have with their
Oh, yeah.
reservoirs.
So this is.
And Newburgh's not on there yet, but
Grant.
Newburgh, they,
Grant
It's
for
another
water treatment. Yeah. So I got it for the wastewater treatment plant. So
Oh,
you also
gotcha.
applied.
Newburgh,
that's what
is probably gonna be on super, because they declared Stewart a Superfund site, because that's where the contamination they think originally came from, so. But the state is committed to paying for most of that, as I understand, from talking to my colleagues down in Newburgh.
In the lab inspection, you just want to go
Oh,
over the...
we did our biennial lab inspection. I hung out there for a little bit with them. We have a very good inspector, I have to say. You can get all kinds of lab inspectors. I mean, we've run the gamut. But this gentleman is really just concerned about helping you not only meet the requirements, but how to improve your lab operations. He's a very nice guy and very helpful. So I went there in the morning just to make sure that, Derek didn't need any help, and that he and Andy did very well with it. Most of the deficiencies that they noted were minor, and they were probably, before he got back to his office in Albany, they had been corrected. One of the things which he was here 2 years ago and didn't want us to do, was that we have to record the temperature of every sample that comes in. We hadn't known that we had to do that anyway, so we're doing that, and little things like that. We have it now and then, handy dandy, touch the bottle and record the temperature.
Now, that's when it's received at the lab, or because you receive them here, though, right?
Received in the lab. It's when you set them up, before they set them up. I questioned him on that. I said, we're supposed to do that down here? No, he said, before you set them up.
Before you do your testing.
Yeah, before you do test. So, like I say, the very minor issues.
So when they come in here, this is the drop-off site,
Yeah,
you refrigerate them here?
yeah, and then we record the temperature, and Andy takes that. There's a thermometer there, yeah. Yes. One item, the equipment maintenance log, they forgot to put down that we put in a new still. Distilled water still, that kind of thing. One of our standards had expired. One of our NIST thermometers, or reference thermometers, was out of caliber. It hadn't been calibrated recently enough. Little things. So they've all been.
It's their job to find something.
Well, I mean, and
That's all they can find.
Well, and it helps your operation improve, because if you're using, he goes around and sees a lot of places. It's becoming harder and harder for the small lab to stay in business, because the compliance, you almost need somebody that's full-time to do the compliance issues apart from the testing. When I did it years ago, I mean, all you did was set up the samples and you could do other stuff. And now, the quality assurance is important, but it takes up a lot of time. And so, there's going to come a point at which this isn't going to be cost-effective for us, and we won't be able to do it. So, but we're not there yet.
Okay, thanks. Any other correspondence?
Nope.
Superintendent's report? And you gave me, I had those 2 points that we discussed.
Yes, I corrected them.
Corrected on mine.
Yeah, I did. And so that means it's corrected on the master copy.
Okay.
And that's what'll get published. There's 2 minor corrections. There's a couple of typos that were in there that, it was, should be now complete. I think I had not complete. Yeah.
That was on the phase 1B progress.
Yeah, on the
Phase 3.
bottom of 3. And then the numbers on the rainfall weren't adding up, because I had pulled the wrong number off of Derek's report. And so I went back and corrected them all, so I can, next month they'll all be corrected. But
Just a curiosity about that whole probe capacitance probe.
That's pretty cool.
How is it on the, is there something on the inside, on the other side?
No, it's on the outside, okay?
So-
One of the things that we didn't want to do is, if you put a probe on the inside of these filters and you backwash and it's pretty agitated and they're scouring, how long is that probe going to last? And how are you going to get in to fix it? I mean, the hatch is 18 inches in diameter. The freeboard in there is not great anymore. You can't, even if you could hire a small child to get in there, oh, I'm kidding, to get in there and look, you can't lay on the air scour grid because that's below, so you really, there's no way to do it. So that was troubling to both Ron and Derek. And
The air scouring sits on top of the median?
no, it's below the median. It's below the median, above the gravel. So, and it's only PVC. So if you got in there and put any downward pressure on it, break the PVC. So you really can't, I used to be able to get in there and climb around on the filters and pull mud balls off. Well, now the freeboard between the top of the filter and the top of the media is less. So, you know, it'd be very difficult to get in. You need to find somebody who could fit through the 18-inch manway anyway. And that's tough for most people to do. And anyway, so we just didn't like that idea. But there was a connection on the outside of the filter on the, I think it was on the effluent line. And, you know, it's gonna, if you open it up, it's gonna seek its own level. It's gonna show you what the water level is on the inside. And so if you set the capacitance, so if you know what the top of your filter is, you set the capacitance probe 5 inches above, you drain it down, and as you bring the water back up, when that capacitance probe is now in water, the LED light that they have attached to it lights up. So the probes are like $200. We can change them pretty easily because they're external to the filter. So it's a pretty simple idea. It's gonna work for us, I think. Yeah, no, Ron and Derek are pretty good team. And Jeremy did all the plumbing for it. And so the three of them are pretty, they get a lot accomplished when they're together. They're pretty good, so.
Should we give them a letter of commendation?
I can do that, sure, and then have them sign it, that'd be great. Just, you know.
Thinking outside the box. It's nice to reward people.
Well, no, and
Simpler and cheaper ways to do things that are effective.
yeah, no, well, it was just, and they were working with Tom Lawson, because Tom didn't like the idea of putting the probes in there anyway. It was just, everybody recognized it was a bad idea, but how do you know? You absolutely can't use the air scour when the filters are dry. But you have to have some water, you have to have some freeboard above the water level. So you gotta drop the water level, but you gotta keep it above the sand bed. How do you know when that happens if you can't, you know, we talked about some sort of a hatch. I mean, nothing was off the table, and then they came up with that. So then they went around and they went and ordered the probe and did some other stuff and went to Lowe's and Home Depot, and next thing you know, they had a pilot up.
I need a motion to accept superintendent's report.
I'll make a motion to accept the report.
I'll second it.
Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Yes. Executive session.
So a couple little things, okay?
Need a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make it.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Those in favor? Those opposed?